Erev Tov, Rabbi. I want to tell you a little about, since we're in a synagogue over here, Bet Knesset, which is called Mikdash Miat, right? So what does that mean? It's a Mikdash, it's like a holy place. Bet Knesset is holy, has Kedusha. So because the Bet Knesset has Kedusha, there are certain things, that a person has to be very careful in the Bet Knesset, not to do. Not to disrespect the Bet Knesset. This is what we're talking about. There's laws about this in the Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam, Talmud, of course. Right, so what do we have to know, right, about this? Number one, it says in the Shulchan Aruch, not allowed to eat in the Bet Knesset or to drink. Not allowed to do that. This is not a dining room, right? It's not a cafeteria. So what does that mean? If you want to eat, whatever, go to outside. Go to the downstairs, where we have Seudah Shlishit over here. Go over there and eat over there. This is what you should do, right? Not eating in the Bet Knesset. So what? But sometimes the truth is, right, that there are certain things that a person is allowed to eat in the Bet Knesset. For instance, if it's Seudat Mitzvah, it's a mitzvah to eat this meal. What's in a Seudat Mitzvah? For instance, let's say they're doing Bar Mitzvah, or they're doing Brit Milah, right? Seudat Milah, or Seudah Shlishit for Shabbat, right? That's also Seudat Mitzvah. So these things you're allowed to eat in the Bet Knesset, Also, if they made a chuppah, in the Bet Knesset, right? Let's say, somebody comes here, wants to get married, right? So the rabbi does chuppah for him, right? So if they want to make a seudah, they can make it in the Bet Knesset, for the chuppah. Seudat mitzvah. All these things are allowed, but stam to eat in the Bet Knesset, just, to take a snack or take a meal. Cannot eat in the Bet Knesset. That's true, right? To eat in the Bet Knesset. Also, there's another thing, which is that, let's say, for instance, there's a shiur, going on, the drasha, the rabbi is giving drasha, whatever. So he's giving divrei Torah, and sometimes a person, especially like we have now Shavuot, we're tired, everybody's tired, staying up all night, coffee or something or tea, you're gonna fall asleep, right? So if that's your purpose, to stay up, so you shouldn't fall asleep. So then you're allowed to drink something, when they're doing drasha, when they're doing a shiur in the Bet Knesset. This is like a mitzvah, because you're doing it in order to hear the drasha, Otherwise you're gonna fall asleep, right? So that's no good, right? You don't want that. So that you can do, something like that. That's okay, for the sake of the Torah, for the sake of the mitzvah. Allowed to do that. Okay, that's understandable, right? So a person has to be very careful, by the way, because it says in the Zohar Kadosh, I want to tell you first of all about what's halakha. The halakha says like this also, in the Bet Knesset, you're not allowed to talk divrei chol, the Bet Knesset, right? What's divrei chol? Something which is not Torah, or not tefillah, right? Something else, just business, you're talking about business, let's say, Or you're talking about politics, who's better, Trump or Biden, whatever, right? Who cares, whatever, right? You're talking about things like this in the Bet Knesset, asur, right? Divrei chol. It's only divrei kedusha you can talk in the Bet Knesset, What does that mean? Divrei Torah, divrei tefillah, right? Tefillah, Torah, this is what you talk about in the Bet Knesset. Halacha, right? Pirkei Avot, Gemara, things like this, Zohar, right? All these good books that we have, Baruch Hashem, in the Torah. We can talk about those things, but don't talk about Divrei Chol, Bet Knesset, because it's Kadosh, So you're not going to bring over here your family, business, or whatever, all kinds of things like this, and talk about it over here. Asur, right? This is the thing, So a person has to be very careful, When you come into Bet Knesset, put a muzzle on your mouth, and just keep it down, Don't talk about other things. Only Torah and Tefillah. That's it, right? That's the only thing which Bet Knesset has to do. That's the only mitzvah that we have over here, So a person has to be very careful about that. It says, by the way, in the Zohar Kadosh, I wanted to tell you, right? Very strong words about this. It says that whoever talks divrei chol, in the Bet Knesset, he has en lo chelek be'Elohei Israel, right? He has no portion in Hashem. That's what it says. So it's very severe, So you see from there, by the way, a person has to be very careful. You come in Bet Knesset, this is not your house. This is not right. You have with your remote control, watching, all kinds of things, This is not what you have over here. This is kadosh. So in place of kadosh, you have to talk only things which are kadosh. They say something interesting about this, by the way. That the Arizal, they say, the Arizal was big Hasid, he was big Nekubal. We're not like that. We're not on that level, of course, But they say that he wouldn't even, in the Bet Knesset, to make here drasha about divrei musar. He wouldn't even do that, but Divrei Musar, this is Torah. So what's the problem? What's wrong with that? So they say the reason why he didn't want to do it is because sometimes when you say Divrei Musar, which is like morality, all kinds of things like this. So sometimes you start talking about divrei chol, you go into divrei chol, because you're talking about the world, the olam, the olam hazeh, right? Divrei musar, about how you live in your life, all these things. So he was very careful, he didn't want to say drasha like this, the Bet Knesset, or musar. Why? Because it goes into divrei chol. So even that he didn't want to do. Okay, so we're not on that level, but at least we have to observe the halacha, which is that what? Don't talk divrei chol, in the Bet Knesset, right? And this is the reason why, when I see newspapers, in the Bet Knesset, I say to myself, what business does newspaper have in Bet Knesset? What business? You're not allowed to read newspaper in the Bet Knesset. This is divrei chol. This is not kedusha. This is not Torah over there. By the way, they have some newspapers. They have some divrei Torah also. Probably if you open some Jewish newspaper, there's some divrei Torah in there. Sometimes you have, especially in Israel. They have newspapers like that over there. Lots of divrei Torah over there, drashot and all kinds of things. Okay, that's something else. I'm not talking about that. But if you're talking about a regular newspaper, divrei chol. How can you read this in the Bet Knesset? Asur. Not allowed, So that's why, the newspaper, leave it at home. Don't bring it over here. You know where the newspaper should be, right? Right? I want to tell you something funny, right? Where should the newspaper be? It should be in your bathroom, because it's makom tuma, bathroom, and newspaper is tuma, so right place for the newspaper. So, tuma and tuma. That's the way. That's where you should read the newspaper, in the bathroom. Because it's tameh, and this also makom tameh. Same thing, that's where you should read, especially on Shabbat, by the way. They say on Shabbat, a person also, has to be careful. Shabbat is like Bet Knesset, it's kadosh. So you have to be careful also what you do on Shabbat. So are you allowed to read a newspaper on Shabbat? So, they say, there's a machloket about this in the poskim. Some say yes, some say no. But they say, even the ones who allow you to read newspaper on Shabbat, where? In the bathroom, right? That when you're going, to make your to your duties, right, over there. That's where you should read the newspaper. But to read the newspaper on Shabbat in your living room, you have nothing better to do on Shabbat than to read a newspaper? Read some divrei Torah, you know what I mean? That Shabbat is kadosh, right? So how can you waste your time, reading newspaper on Shabbat? That's not a good thing. That's another thing that we have to be careful about. All these things, a person has to be very careful, because Bet Knesset is kadosh, and so a person has to, watch out the way he behaves over here. Also, another thing, I want to tell you, right, which is, don't come over here to make a machloket, with people, to fight, with people, like, we have some friends over here, I don't want to mention any names, but, they make fights over here, they come, they start screaming and yelling at people. Come on, this is not a place, this is not a circus over here, kirkas, that, what are you doing over here? Making a circus? What's going on over here, You want to play games over here and, yell at people, scream, talking about, insulting people in the Bet Knesset. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching you. And you're screaming and yelling Bet Knesset at people, and fighting and making machloket. How can a person do something like this? I don't understand this kind of a thing, This is Beit Hashem. It's house of Hashem. There's no place for such a thing like that, to make over here fights, machloket, and this kind of thing. Respect each other, respect. You respect him, he respects you. That's the way it is. If you don't respect him, he's not going to respect you either. It's like a mirror. When you talk to somebody disrespect, he is also not going to respect you. That's the way it is. So if you want people to respect you, respect them. That's what you got to do, right? There's no other way to, especially in Bet Knesset, where it's Beit Hashem over here. You're coming here, and making problems. Machloket and this. Asur. To do such like that, Bet Knesset, right? So a person has to know, right? All these things. Very important things, that to watch the Kedusha of the Bet Knesset. So a person, they say, by the way, that there are some exceptions to that. For instance, let's say if a Talmid Chacham, he learns in the Bet Knesset, like that's his Bet Midrash, So he learns over here Torah all day. He sits there all day in Bet Knesset, Bet Midrash, and he learns Torah. So he's allowed to do things over there, that a regular person cannot do. He's allowed to drink, and eat a little bit, something, whatever. Because if he has to go home, to do this, it's going to be bitul Torah for him, So therefore, for a Talmid Chacham who is in the Bet Knesset all day and he's learning Torah, he's allowed to eat and drink, But even him, right, not allowed to, speak divrei chol, things like this. One more thing I want to tell you. We'll stop here. We'll do Arvit, B'ezrat Hashem. One more thing also, very important. Unfortunately, sometimes we all have a problem with this, And it says in the Shulchan Aruch, you're not allowed to sleep in the bed Knesset. No sleeping over here. You know what I mean? You want to go sleep? Go to your bed, and to do some nana. Whatever. Right? But not allowed to sleep in the bed Knesset. So a person, has to be careful about that. Don't come over here to take a nap. Whatever. Right? So if you need to sleep, go home. And sleep in the house. What, you coming here to sleep? What is this? What is this business? You know what I mean? So it's not respect for the bed Knesset. That person is sleeping over here. So a person has to also be careful about that. Okay, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you're tired and you're like dozing off like this. Okay, it happens. To everybody. Sometimes we're tired, but you shouldn't. If you know what you're doing, right? And you understand what you're doing, don't fall asleep on the bed Knesset. Take a nap over here. Whatever. It's not respect. That's also the same thing. So all these things, a person has to be careful about the bed Knesset. And what happens is like this. I want to tell you a story. A little bit, right? That Rabbi Safi one time told me in Yerushalayim. He told me he went to visit, the son of Baba Sali one time. He was living in Ashdod. Baba Meir. So he went to visit him over there, and so Baba Meir told to Rabbi Safi. He says, "Let's go to Bet Knesset. I need to pray. Right? Let's go. So he takes him to Bet Knesset. So he told us the story. True story. Rabbi Safi told us. When Baba Meir, got close to the Bet Knesset, he said his body was already shaking from fear, because of the Shekhinah. That is the Bet Knesset. He was shaking from fear, like this, And they say that he told us like this, that he kissed the mezuzah, like this. His body was shaking from fear, from the Shekhinah. He walked to the Bet Knesset, First thing he did, this is the way they were, these people, very holy people, Abu Chatzera people, family. He went, to the Echal Kadosh, and he, bowed down like this, and he kissed, like very, very respectful, extra respectful. So, what do you see from there, right? What do you learn from there? You learn from there one thing, that a person who's Kadosh, he feels the Kedusha of the Bet Knesset, he's afraid of it. That's the way it should be, A person should be afraid of the Kedusha of the Bet Knesset. So you should be afraid to do things like this, like to talk divrei chol, or to make machloket, or to all kinds of lashon hara, things like this, eating and drinking over here, like some kind of a party, some kind of dinner party, sleeping, whatever, things like this, disrespect to the Bet Knesset. A person, if he has to feel that the kedusha of the Bet Knesset, he has to understand that. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen, amen. רבי חנן שאומר, צריך לקדוש ברוך הוא לסוף ישראל, לפיכך חיבר להם תורה ומצוות שאמרנו לחפש, למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר.